What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Merry Christmas. It's officially December. We got Mumbo Razz back in the building. What's up, brother?
Hey, buddy.
So today we're going to talk about some epic Christmas stories of times past. So we'll start with Mumbo, our lovely guest. What's a good Christmas story that comes to mind of your past?
So one of my favorites is when I was a young lad. We're talking like, I don't know, probably...
Millions of years ago.
Yes, many, many moons ago. I was a young lad, and my two younger sisters got, I think it was like the Game Boy Pocket in the blister pack that they had at BJ, so it was a blister
Was it
pack.
yellow? The yellow Game Boy?
The
yellow
I think it was like probably like berry and like probably teal. If I
Also, the color, the Game Boy Color?
Yeah, I think it might have been the color. So it was...
Oh, you might, yeah. Sorry,
it was one of them bad boys.
Yeah.
With one head red and one head blue, and for whatever reason, they were just like, "Yeah, this is great." I don't know if it was like a lot of people, like you're a young kid, you got all these cool games, you're like, "Hey, this game's great, but I'm gonna move on to the next thing that's probably as good or maybe a little less." So they kind of cast it aside, and I'm like, "This is awesome." I'm like,
They cast the Pokemon to the side?
yeah, they cast it aside, probably move on to the next gift, and I'm sitting there playing. I'm like, "This is amazing," and that was kind of like what sparked my love of Pokemon. And the funny thing is like they both got into Pokemon. It's just in that moment, maybe it was just sensory overload. They're like, yeah, this is
They
great.
didn't love it instantly.
They're like, this is great. Let's see what else there is. And I'm just like,
yeah.
wow, I should have asked for this for Christmas.
Yeah. So that's your Pokemon story? It was on a Christmas and it was your
Christmas
brother's
Day,
sister's
yeah.
gift?
Yep.
Oh man, that's awesome. So I started with a Game Boy Pocket and Pokemon as well. I started with Pokemon Red. Was it red or blue?
So I think the one that I tried was red, which ended up being my favorite.
Red, yeah. I'm a red guy myself. I was red and my brother was blue. I remember when it came out, we were going on a road trip, and my father took me and my brother to the game store, and he's like, Pokemon just came out. You guys can get Pokemon because you've been talking about it. I remember I didn't know anything about Pokemon. Like,
Right.
I heard it was a fad, and I was just like, okay, cool. And I remember I was like, all right, I'll get red, the fucking orange dragon on the cover.
Yes.
And the other one had a turtle, and I'm like, I'm going with the dragon.
Yeah. You're like,
And I like red. Like, even in Halo, I always play as the red team over the blue team. I just like the color red more than blue. So I had Pokemon Red. I remember we opened it up. There was a 12-hour ride. We live in Boston. We went down to Virginia on a road trip. And we did not even put that game down. We had the yellow Game Boy Pockets, the like first model of the Game Boy Pocket.
mm-hmm.
And we... the whole ride, we were just playing. We actually have a picture. We stopped at a gas station to take a picture, or to get gas, and we just happened to get a picture on the road.
Mm-hmm.
In the picture, my brother is looking down, playing Pokemon in the fucking picture. I'll edit it in. I'll find it, and I'll put it right here. So you're looking at it. The viewers are looking at it right now. That's literally us playing Pokemon, and I'm holding it up like, I got Pokemon.
yeah.
So...
Yeah, that cheese, probably a cheesy grin. You're like, yeah.
Yeah. I was just like literally like a cheesy grin.
Yeah.
And I remember that's awesome. That's cool you got introduced to Pokemon on Christmas. And it wasn't even your gift.
Yeah, that's the funny part.
That's pretty damn cool. I remember my personal favorite Christmas was 2001. I remember I asked my mother for the Xbox, the original Xbox. I remember back in the day, it was Project X. Microsoft was like, we're working on something. Is it a computer? Is it a console? It was Project X. It was so much mystery behind it. And I'm like, dude, I had been playing arcade games. I'm like, oh my God, Microsoft's going to come in the game. They're going to have a crazy console, all these games. And I asked my mother for it for Christmas. And I was like, Mom, I know it's $500. I heard it's $500. I know you probably can't get it, but if you can get anything... Even if you just get the Xbox without any games, I just want the fucking Xbox. So, I didn't think anything of it. And Christmas morning, 2001, I'm opening up the big gift. Because they specify, they're like, open up some small gifts first.
Yep.
And then
Kinda
my
warm you
small
up to
gifts
it.
were done. And the big gift, she's like, okay, open up the big gift. And I open it up, and I just see that green swelling X and the black box. And I was like, you got me an Xbox? She's like, yep, I ended up getting one, blah, 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 and the rest is history. So when I got that Xbox, what she told me was, this actually worked out perfectly. The Xbox wasn't $500. I thought it was. I heard online it was. I didn't look into it. I was 14. I was 14 years old, and I was like, I'm not gonna get it for Christmas. I can't afford $500. I'm not looking into it. I just heard it was, and it's Microsoft, so I'm like, maybe it is $500. I don't know. And so because I told my mom it was $500, she got the $500. It was $300. She got the $500 version that came with like 5 games.
Nice.
So, and she thought she just got me the console. Like, she just thought that was the only one you could get.
Yeah.
And I remember, dude, this is literally like my lore. This is my gaming history, CarbonCyber lore. I opened up these games. These are games that like, dude, that had such an impact. And I remember opening them. There was one with Project Gotham Racing. I'm like, oh, this looks like a really cool racing game. That was a launch title on the original Xbox. Then I opened up another one. It's just this black and white silhouette, almost like a Dark James Bond. And it was like Max Payne. Max Payne's one of my favorite games now.
Yeah.
And I just had no idea. I was like, she's like, my mom's like, oh yeah, they said that was good. That's a good game, blah, blah. And then I opened up the most iconic game of all time. Halo Combat Evolved. I remember ripping it down. I remember specifically ripping it down and seeing the Master Chief like this and all green, and it's like Halo. And I was like, Halo? I had not even heard of it. Again, I had not looked up anything on the Xbox because I didn't want to get excited. And I was like, whatever, it's something I can't get right now.
Yeah.
Like a Ferrari or something. It was that, like, I don't think I'm going to get it. So I picked up Halo, and I was like, Halo. And instantly, like, I'm into futuristic stuff. I'm into shooters. So I look, I'm like, this one's special. Just from the cover art in the back, I was like, I'm going to like this one. And I remember my mom looking at me, and she goes, Matthew, the guy at EB Games said that's going to be the next biggest game, Halo. And I was like...
That was about a name drop, by the way.
Yeah, I had to. It's EB Games. It was EB Games. And she goes, this is going to be the next biggest game, the guy said at the game store. And I was like, Halo, wow. And then it was. I remember, shout out, not that he's probably watching, but do you know Dave Moon?
Yeah.
Yeah. Dave Moon, he was just a dude in my science class, and I remember we had been talking about Halo. And I was like, dude, you got an Xbox too? You got Halo? And he's like, yeah, man, I'm on this level, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, shit, I'm already on the last level. Yeah. Like when we talked after Christmas vacation, I was like, dude, it doesn't take me that long. I'm done. And I just remember talking to him in school, and I was like, dude, like, I was so amped up. Especially on consoles, there was no game like Halo Combat Evolved circa 2001 on a console. Right. Like, go back and play anything. There was nothing that compared to Halo. There wasn't even anything close. So I just remember playing that game, the story, the music, the gameplay, everything about Halo. I was just like, holy shit, dude. It was like, going back was just, dude.
Oh, I do.
You're a fucking huge Halo fan, dude.
Yeah.
We used to do LAN parties. We still do once in a while. And there's just something so special about Halo. And I've had I'm 36 years old now. I've had a lot of Christmases. And I'll tell you, there is not one Christmas that is as memorable for me as Christmas 2001. When I got the Xbox and when I got Halo, Max Payne, Project Gotham Racing. I think I got Oddworld. There was a couple others, but obviously those 3 bangers dude, instant imprint. I remember. That's how powerful that game is. Like, I don't remember the first time I played it, but I remember when I fucking opened it and I looked, and my mom's like, Matthew, that's gonna be the next big game. And I was like, oh wow, interesting, because like I'd never heard of it. And then I just hear all of a sudden it's blown up. Then by the time Halo 2 came out, midnight release across the country. Everyone was like lined up, EB Games, GameStop, Bunkleland, all that. That was my best Christmas.
Sure. Funny you mentioned Halo 2. So, yeah. My introduction to Halo, I was playing, it was like my first, I guess you could call it LAN. It was like me, my brother, and like a bunch of his buddies. We go to a friend's house. This was cool, dude. Like, we went downstairs. We went in separate rooms. So there was like this room, and then like stairs coming down. So separate rooms, doors are shut. 4-on-4 on what's that big snow level? You would know because I'm more into Halo 2.
On the first one?
Yeah, Halo 1.
That would be Assault on the Control Room.
So we were playing that, and I'm like, dude, this is friggin' awesome. Like, even with my, very bad inside voice, I'm like, they can't hear me because the game's loud. People are on next to them probably saying like, hey, Matt, go to that guy. So, like, I played Halo 1, just that instance, the multiplayer. I didn't touch the campaign till, like, later when they did the Collector's Edition, like, when they remastered it. Halo 2 is when I jumped in. A buddy of mine was like, dude, you gotta check out Halo 2. So I'm like, alright. I pick it up, and that's when I was hooked. Halo 2.
Halo 2 is the one that did it?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, Halo is linked to Christmas forever for me. The original Xbox, because that was my system. I remember, I loved the PlayStation. I loved the 64. But I knew when Microsoft was getting in the game, I was like, dude, this is gonna be my system. I was like, I felt like it was for me, because I was like, I love Nintendo, I love PlayStation, but Microsoft Project X, it was supposed to be the most powerful console, and it was by far versus the PS2 and GameCube of its class. It was the only one that had the hard drive.
Yeah, I'll give them that. That was pretty clutch.
It had broadband out the gate. The online capabilities blew GameCube and PS2 out the water. And when viewers and people on my Facebook and stuff, when I talk highly about Xbox and I say it's a better console, technically speaking, it is a better, more powerful console. Dude, you know me. I love the PS2 and GameCube too, but Xbox, it was just a superior console. And it's just, some people don't link that to it because it was the least successful selling versus PS2 and GameCube.
Yeah.
And, like, give it credit. I mean, Nintendo had been around since the late 70s, I'm pretty sure. The late 70s, before they were doing video games, obviously.
Sure, yeah.
And Sony, I mean, that's been around since that. They might even date back to the 60s. Their early stuff. They might be even earlier, I'm not sure. But these are both companies. So, of course, Microsoft Xbox, their first console, wasn't gonna outsell two companies that have established game lines.
Yeah.
But the original Xbox, 2001, that's the only Christmas that sticks out in memory that I remember where I was sitting in my mom's house back in the day. That was awesome.
Yeah.
The whole Christmas season is awesome. Which brings me to my next point.
Yeah.
Me and Mumbo have been watching, not even purposely, but we've been watching strictly Christmas horror this year. And we've watched some really good ones. We've watched Christmas Evil and Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Yeah, that was my favorite of the two.
Did we watch a third one? I forget.
Not yet.
Not yet. So, what did you think of both of those? You liked both of those, right?
So, I would say I enjoyed them for different reasons. Like, if you put a gun in my head, it would definitely be... what was it? Silent Night, Deadly Night?
Deadly Night, yep.
That one, I liked Silent Night, Deadly Night because that was more of what I was looking for, that nice Christmas vibe, but with some horror put in there. Whereas...
Christmas
Evil was, and I think you would agree, watching the trailers, you're like, all right, this is going to be a slasher.
They sold it like it was going to be a horror movie.
Yeah.
But it was a drama, and it was following the story of a madman. And so for anyone who's watching, for big movie buffs, if you've seen Taxi Driver, if you're a fan of movies, I would hope you've seen Taxi Driver. It's kind of like Taxi Driver, but it's like, it's funny because on the surface level, Christmas Evil, you watch it, you're like, oh wow, but when you really think about how deep that movie was, it's like, it's wild. This guy literally, he has this maniacal episode from a traumatic past on Christmas, and he starts thinking he's fucking Santa. Like, there's one scene, sort of spoiler alert, it's just a part, it's not the story, so you can skip ahead 10, 12 seconds, whatever. But he's trying to fit down a chimney with a bag after he just killed someone. He literally thinks he's Santa, and he gets stuck in the chimney. And there's just something about the movie where you're like, wow, like you're watching this guy become a madman, and he starts. He does do good. He's like protecting the kids, and then the adults. It has this crazy reference of like the magicalness of Santa, and then the adulthood that is pressuring him into being something different. So he lashes out and he attacks and kills them, but he doesn't hurt the kids.
Yeah.
You know, and Christmas Evil, although it might be hard to watch, like, I wouldn't say hard to watch. I'm saying this for like mainstream people who like, mainstream movie watchers who are like, oh, when did it come out? Like, I know a lot of people who don't like old movies. They don't want to watch old movies. Yeah. I'm a firm believer, most good movies and most music has already been made. Not that it won't be made, not that good stuff won't be made again, but as times change, the amount of fluff and bullshit, you know it goes up. In
Yeah.
gaming, video games, music, movies. Think about Netflix. If you choose something random on Netflix, the chance of it being good is very fucking low. Like, if you really do it randomly and you're not going on, like, most watch and stuff, chance of it being good, there's so much shovelware. And it was just one of those movies that it was made in a different era. So Christmas Evil 1980 was fantastic, and Silent Night, Deadly Night was awesome too. I really liked it.
Yeah, I'd say, my opinion, Silent Night, Deadly Night is for anybody who likes the horror / Christmas type of movies.
Slashes.
The Christmas Evil, I say that's more for people that like cheesy horror movies. Like if you like original Evil Dead or like Frankenhooker, those type of movies where there's like, it's like, yeah, there's a little bit of horror, but it's like more comedy. You might like that. Like, or dare I say trash cinema?
Yeah.
Dare I say?
It's filmed
something like that. You might like Christmas Evil.
For sure. It's filmed like a B movie, but if you come at it with an open mind, I was shocked at how deep it actually really was. It can go over a lot of people's heads, but if you really think about it, like, and the societal undertones of it, it was way deeper than I thought, and it was so much more than a B movie to me. This struck me as like an indie, maniacal Santa noir-esque film. Like,
yeah.
I thought it was unbelievable. And again, there's some shots and some setting where you're like, oh, this looks really cheap, or like it looks like it was filmed cheap. But if you put that aside, like, I don't care about that. Like, I'm a big setting guy. I do like when it's like visually appealing. But when the story is like that and it's told very well like that, makes up for it, I think.
Right.
I love both of those movies. I'll link my Letterboxd in the description if you guys want to check out my review on that. You gotta hop on Letterboxd, man. The people want to see the Mumbo reviews.
So, speaking of Christmas movies,
yeah.
So a memory of mine from Christmas, and I'm sure a lot of people like this, when you're a young kid, you're like, I can't go to sleep. Like, tomorrow's Christmas Day. I know I'm going to get some cool stuff from Santa and, like, some cool stuff from my parents. So, like, I had a hard time trying to go to sleep. So I remember being, like, down in my living room with, like, my blanket. And, like, luckily they had Christmas Story on 24 hours, which they still do as far as I know. Mm. And, dude, I must have watched it, like, 12 times because I'm like, dude, I can't get to sleep. I'm like, nice. It's 2 a.m. I can't go to sleep. I'm just going to watch this till, like, it's, 5 or 6 a.m. Then I can start harassing my parents to wake up.
Just shoot your eye out, kid.
Right?
That's a classic. Before we wrap it up, I wanted to bring up Krampus because I just watched that with my girlfriend recently, and you said you kind of remember it? You watched it a while? Oh, you remember
I watched it probably a couple years ago.
Okay. So, Krampus I thought was going to be a modern-day B-movie. Just by the, like, I didn't watch the trailer, nothing. I was just like, oh, okay, it's like an Evil Santa movie. Okay. Dude, it was awesome.
Right?
Like, dude, they made the Krampus look so dark. The thing is, in the beginning, when he's hopping fucking roof to roof, and there's this insane blizzard that you've never seen. The blizzard was scary alone. You're just like, damn, it's a complete whiteout. And it was, like, super windy. And then I just remember the girl walking down the street, dude. You just see this, like, this hooved fucking antler thing jumping roof to roof.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, this is creepy.
Yeah.
Like, Krampus has an awesome vibe. Krampus 2015, that movie surprised me, dude. The way the elves, I think the best part in that movie, quick spoiler alert, this is just a part that happens. Again, it's just a part, it's not the story, but you can skip ahead if you don't want to hear it. The dark elf ceremony towards the end with the fire and they're all dancing and Krampus is just like at the top. I was like, dude, this is fucking dark, dude.
Right.
Like, when I watched it, I was like, I thought this was going to be like sort of a mainstream style movie. Dude, this movie went like deep, dark, and dangerous. Yeah. I was like, dude, this is dark shit. And then I watch a lot of like actually dark shit. I was like, damn, the elves, and they're like in the streets and like there's just dead families around and Krampus is just like leading them. I was like, this is like some satanic fucking like ritual with elves and Dark Santa and he's coming and just wrecking house. I was like, Krampus is sick.
Right?
Krampus was sick. I was pleasantly surprised with Krampus. So I'll bring up one more thing too. So I watched another one with my girlfriend. I've been telling you about Black Christmas.
Oh yes, I definitely can see that.
1974. So I was telling Mumbo earlier. There's a meme that it's like, oh, 80s movie horror. No, 70s movie horror. Yeah. You know, the Drake meme. I was like, you know what? I haven't divulged too much into 70s horror. I know The Exorcist. I know Texas Chainsaw. Technically, Halloween is a 70s horror. The original 78.
Yeah.
And so I was like, you know what? Maybe 70s horror does have more to offer than 80s. It's possible. I don't know. I love 80s. We both love 80s. And Black Christmas 1974, I just did an event, the music event. We do Black Christmas. And I was like, you know, there's a movie called Black Christmas. I should check it out. And I watched it with my girlfriend. I have to say, this fucking movie is fucking wicked good. 1974. Of course, it's, you know, old school. But it starts out, and you just see this beautiful... It's a sorority house. And they're just getting weird phone calls, and people are starting to disappear. This guy... You start out with this POV of this... It's the camera, and you're like the POV of this to-be killer. And he's just like... The way he's walking and looking and stuff, you can feel it through the, like, lens. You're just like, oh, shit, he's just acting weird. And eventually, he just gets into the house. He starts offing the girls. This is in the trailer. No spoilers. But what he does and how maniacal he acts... was honestly, it was very creepy. And I usually prefer supernatural horror, where it's like, okay, like Michael Myers is like, because you can't really kill him. He's been shot, stabbed, you know, all these things, and he doesn't really die. So it's like, it's not like big winged creatures, but it's still supernatural in a way.
Yeah.
This is no supernatural, but, dude, I just remember, I'm just going to say one scene. I just remember... The girl sees like him start to move, and he jumps down. He starts chasing her, and you don't really see him. And then she shuts the door, and he's banging on there. He's like, and it's just like, dude, he's screaming like a f***ing insane maniac. And I was just like, I got chills. I was like, dude, he was screaming like a fucking, like I've never seen before in a movie.
Yeah.
He was acting like what I would imagine a true lunatic acts like.
Yeah.
I literally get chills now because I'm like, it was very realistic. We're a madman. He's like banging on the door. He's just screaming obscenities and just making weird noises, and he's just complete. And it's awesome because you don't see him doing it, so you can only imagine what he's doing with his face and like freaking out. And yeah, Black Christmas 1974. That's a 4.5 or a 5 out of 5 stars for me. Definitely check out Christmas Evil, Krampus, Silent Night, Deadly Night. We'll be watching Silent Night, Deadly Night 2. Let's do it this season. Let's stay on the fucking... Let's do it. Let's add some nostalgia to it. And Black Christmas 1974.
So, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
And I'd like to hear in the comments what you guys have for this. So, Christmas traditions. I want to hear... I'm sure you got at least one. I got one in mind.
Christmas traditions. So, I try to... Sometimes I'll plan a tradition, it doesn't, and then I'll forget or something.
Yeah.
So, there's one I've been working on since last year.
Yeah.
I'll just say a new one. Obviously, I go to my aunt's every year. Yeah. But my newest one is, I have the old Garfield books. And so, you know how you watch Christmas movies every year?
Yeah.
I want to make sure I read the Garfield Christmas book every year.
I like that.
That's my newest one. I did the Thanksgiving one last year. I missed the Thanksgiving one this year. But I'm not going to miss the Christmas one.
Nice.
And my newest, I would just say, that's my newest tradition is I want to read the Garfield. No music in the background. I don't read a ton of like books. I do a lot of stuff, like I read online, like stuff like that, but like I don't sit down and read books. Not that Garfield's a book, obviously it's mostly pictures, but it's good to feel like just the quiet and the you know, the time before the internet, the time before memes, just watching and reading through a Garfield story. It's so wholesome. It's so like classic funny.
Yeah, it's a nice little like time capsule.
Yeah, so I'll go with the Garfield book. That's definitely my newest tradition.
Nice.
How about you?
So one of my favorites that I've been doing pretty much since I was able to drive is me and my two younger sisters. We'd always, like, I don't know how you guys do it or you guys at home, but one of the things we get for stocking stuffers is we would get scratch tickets.
I get those.
So we get scratch tickets, candy, and we get like regular gifts on a tree. So I'd sit there scratching scratch tickets, and between the 3 or 4 of us, somebody would have a winning ticket, whether it's like $1 or $20, whatever it is. So we'd always be like, hey, let's go to 7-Eleven, because I know that like every holiday when everybody else is closed, those guys are open. So we'd go down there, and I call them holiday taquitos. I go down there and just get the steak and cheese taquitos, but I'd always call it like a holiday taquito, because I'd be getting it like, you know, Thanksgiving morning or like Christmas Day, and that was like always something that we do is like go down, cash in our scratch tickets. I'd get my taquitos. My siblings would get like whatever the heck they're eating.
That's cool.
And then we'd go back to the house and like prepare for Christmas dinner, which is really like lunchtime.
Yeah.
You know.
Hell yeah. That's a good tradition. I like that one. That's a really good place to end it. That's about it. We just wanted to talk about some Christmas stuff, some Christmas stories, some wholesome vibes.
Yes.
Thanks, Mumbo, for coming out and being a guest again. And what are your favorite Christmas stories from the past? Any gaming stories or movies you like? Leave it in the comments, and don't forget to check out those movies. Trust me, they're all really good. As long as you can stand horror movies. Most of these ones are old, so they're not like scary by modern day. They're pretty tolerable, even if you're lighthearted to horror. But check out the movies. Let me know in the comments your favorite Christmas pastime. And thanks again for Mumbo for coming out. And we'll catch you guys on the next one. And Merry Christmas 2023. Peace.